Namaskaram. Hello and welcome, hardworking individuals. We are continuing the series of modern history, and today we are going to talk about era of militant nationalism in 1905 to 1909. A very important incident happened in 1905, and that was Partition of Bengal. Yes, the Partition of Bengal that you see today, that's the Bangladesh you're seeing, and you're seeing the West Bengal in India. There's something like this that was done at that time by the Britishers, and there were the reasons which were very ridiculous that was given by the Britishers, but they really wanted to divide the Hindus and Muslims all together. Were they successful in this? Well, there is a question mark there, because there was Rabindranath Tagore and other Muslims tying Rakhis to each other, saying that no matter what, if the boundaries are there, we will never be separated. But there were few Muslims who were celebrating, saying that we have got a Muslim majority state and Hindus should not talk about it because they have all the majority states. And those Muslims also went on to form the Muslim League. So, in a way, the Britishers who wanted to divide the Hindus and Muslims, they were successful. And what was Congress doing at this time? We will see that too. So let's get started in today's class. If you want the PDF of this classes for free, you can join our Telegram channel, and also if you have any question to us, you can call on the numbers given below its slide. So the growth of militant nationalism, because in 1885 we saw there was this birth of Indian National Congress, and there were some theories regarding the birth of Indian National Congress that we have already seen, the safety valve theory and the lightning conductor theory. But after 1885 till 1905, there were few expectations from the Indian National Congress that the individual citizens had, but that was not fulfilled by them, and because of that, people or the youngsters at that time, they wanted to take things in their own hand. We will see youngsters like Khudiram Bose in their teenage, they will be giving up their life along with Prafulla Chaki, because they wanted the Britishers to understand of the atrocities they were making at that time. So why militant nationalism grew at that time? So number one, disillusionment with the moderate. So many politically conscious Indians grew dissatisfied with the British government's refusal to concede important demands, and they also thought that the Indian National Congress is also not able to get anything. The rise of nationalist sentiment, growing belief spread that only an Indian-led government could ensure the real process for the country, because country was not progressing, there was no growth to be seen. And the economic misery, this is an important point, famines killing 90 lakh people between 1896 to 1900. A bubonic plague in Deccan and large-scale riots exposed the exploitative nature of the British colonial rule. So the administration was also not being taken care of. And the nationalists were wide awake of the fact that instead of giving more rights to the Indians, the government was taking away even what was there already. So how we can say that? So you see the 1892 Indian Council Act. This was criticized by nationalists for being inadequate and failing to meet Indian aspirations at that time. In 1897 also we'll see the repression of leaders like Natu brothers deported without trial, Tilak and others imprisoned on sedition charges. Then you see in 1898 sedition laws were strengthened. IPC section 124A, that is of sedition, was made harsher with new provisions under section 156A. In 1899, what we see, the Calcutta Corporation Act reduced the number of Indian members, curbing in local self-governance. And 1904 Indian Universities Act brought universities under strict government control, branding them as centers of political unrest. So you see, Bhaya, all these examples that whatever the existing laws are there, forget about the new laws or new relief for the Indians, they are taking away whatever is actually present. Now, there was some growth of confidence and self-respect in whom leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Aurobindo Ghosh, Bipin Chandra Pal, very famously known as the Lal Bal Pal trio, They consistently urged the nationalists to place their faith in the strength and character of the Indian people, and gradually the idea gained ground that the masses must be drawn into the struggle. You cannot have only few elite people going, the lawyers, the doctors, the engineers, the teachers. Only they cannot be there. You need to involve the peasants, you need to involve the farmers, you need to involve the women, because they constitute the major chunk of the masses. So that was really very important. Now, the growth of education also played a role in it. On one hand, the spread of education increased awareness among the masses. On the other, rising unemployment and underemployment among the educated also highlighted the poverty and the underdeveloped states of the Indian colonial strength. So, this is also something that was seen there. Now, reaction to the increasing westernization. So, the intellectuals and moral inspiration was deeply rooted in Indian traditions. Thinkers like Swami Vivekananda, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, they inspired a generation of young nationalists with their powerful arguments and vivid portrayal of India's glorious past. And they emphasized the richness of Indian civilization, while Dayanand's clarion call of India for the Indians gave a distinctive political edge to the cultural revival. So this is something that you should remember. It might be asked that who said India is for the Indians. So it was Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Okay. Next, you see the dissatisfaction with the achievements of the moderates. So moderates from the last 15-20 years were having very limited achievements. And they were properly known for their 3 Ps. What are the 3 Ps? The prayer, petition, and protest. So there is nothing very substantial for the moderates to show that what they have achieved after the formation of Indian National Congress in 1885, and they were referred as a political mendicancy. Now, the existence of a militant school of thought was there. There are people like Rajnarayan Bose, Ashwani Kumar Datta, Aurobindo Ghosh, Bipin Chandra Pal in Bengal, and these advocated for a militant approach for the freedom struggle. Vishnu Sastri, Chiplunkar, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak in Maharashtra and Lala Lajpat Rai in Punjab were some of them in different parts of India that we are seeing. Let's see the views of Swami Vivekananda. If there is a sin in the world, it is weakness. Avoid all weakness. Weakness is sin. Weakness is death. This is something you can use in your own life also. The extremists of today will be the moderates of tomorrow, just as the moderates of today were the extremists of yesterday. This was said very famously by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. And what one Asiatic has done, others can do. If Japan can drub Russia, India can drub England with equal ease. Let us drive the British into the sea and take our place side by side with Japan among the great powers of the world. This was said by the Karachi Chronicle at that time. So these all viewpoints are showing you that the Indians were urging, very eager enough from inside, that they need to overthrow the Britishers at that time. Now, while all these things was happening, the chunk of it was happening in Bengal, and Britishers had to do something to get over it. So what do? They divided the Bengal. Okay. And when they divided the Bengal, what did they say? What was the reason for dividing the Bengal? They said that Bengal was having a very large population and it also has a very large area. So because of that, it is very hard to administer Bengal altogether. That is why we are dividing the Bengal. But there were another reasons. What was the different reason? They wanted to divide Bengal into 2 parts. One as the Muslim majority Bengal and the other as the Hindu majority Bengal. Basically, they wanted to play the card of divide and rule. So the British government announced its decision of partition of Bengal in December 1903. And Bengal, comprising Western Bengal along with the Bihar and Orissa with Calcutta as its capital, and Eastern Bengal and Assam with Dhaka as its capital. So Eastern Bengal was having Muslim majority, and this Bengal was, the Western Bengal was having the Hindu majority at that time. So official justification was administrative efficiency. Bengal, with a population of 78 million, was deemed to be too large to govern effectively. This is what I have already said you. With this reasoning had some merit, the real motive was widely recognized as political. The British sought to weaken Bengal, the epicenter of Indian nationalism at that time, by dividing the Bengali population between two different administrations. Now, trying to woo the Muslims, Karjan, the viceroy at that time, argued that Dhaka could become the capital of new Muslim majority province, which would provide them with a unity not experienced by them since the days of old Muslim viceroys and the king. So, the viceroy back then, Lord Karjan, is trying to woo the Muslims by giving the point that you are now going to have your own rule in some way. Now, their anti-partition campaign also started under the moderates in 1903 to 1905. Early leadership methods like Surendranath Banerjee, K.K. Mitra, and the others opposed Bengal's partition through petitions, public meetings, memoranda. This is what we have already said, that what they were doing, the petitions, prayers, and the protest. Launch of the Swadeshi movement. This is very significant despite strong opposition. The British announced the partition in July 1905. A massive Calcutta town hall meeting passed the boycott resolution, formally beginning the Swadeshi movement also in 1905. Now, there was this partition day protest on 16th October 1905. So, observe the day of mourning with the fasting, Ganga baths, barefoot procession, singing of Bande Mataram, Tagore's Amar Sonar Bangla, and Rakhi tying for unity. This is what I have showed you already, and gathering that raised rupees 50,000 for the movement at that time. Spread beyond Bengal, the movement expanded nationwide. Tilak in Pune and Bombay, Lala Lajpat Rai and Ajit Singh in Punjab, Sayyid Hyder Raja in Delhi, and Chidambaram Pillai in Madras were the ones who were leading this Swadeshi and boycott movement in different parts of India at that time. The Indian National Congress meeting in 1905 under the presidency of Gokhale, please remember it might be asked, resolved to condemn the partition of Bengal and the reactionary policies of Karjan, and also to support the anti-partition and the Swadeshi movement of Bengal. The militant nationalists like Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal, and Aurobindo Ghosh sought to expand the movement beyond Bengal and transform it from a mere boycott of foreign goods into a full-fledged political mass struggle. The movement under extremist leadership, if we see what was there, the moderate led agitation had failed to produce tangible results. So the decisive tactics of the two Bengal governments deepened nationalist resentment at that time, and the regressive policies of the colonial states, such as the atrocities on students, including corporal punishment, a ban on singing Vande Mataram in public, restrictions on meetings, imprisonment of Swadeshi workers, frequent police classes, arrest and deportation of leaders was done by the Britishers to curb the program. Now, there was the extremist program, what would it inspired by Dadabhai Naoroji and the call for Swaraj. The extremists advocated passive resistance along with Swadeshi and boycott of the British institutions. Now, what was to the boycotted? You would have the school services, councils, titles, etc. And the militant nationalist ideology. Leaders like Aurobindo emphasized that political freedom was essential, seeking complete independence through mass struggle, self-sacrifice, and resistance to British exploitation at that time. Now, there was some new forms of struggle and impact that we can see, the boycott of foreign goods. So, you are going to reject all the foreign goods, whether it's foreign cloth, whether it's foreign salt, whether it's foreign sugar, anything whatsoever. Public meetings and procession were held at that time to show that we are struggling against you, and imaginative use of traditional popular festivals and the melas. So, Bal Gangadhar Tilak started Ganapati and Shivaji festival at that time, that became more powerful platform for the Swadeshi people to come along and talk about it and also protest. So, the festivals were used for this boycott movement as well. But here is one small point that I will say you, that you should also remember. The Muslims were annoyed with this because they said, what is the reason of celebrating Ganesh festival in the boycott? And they felt like that they were being alienated there. That was also a reason we see in 1906 the formation of Muslim League. Now, emphasis given to the self-reliance. So when you are boycotting the other products, so what do? You have to produce your own products, and practically it involved a social reform and campaign against the caste oppression, early marriage, dowry, and other whatever the social evils were there against them. Now, there is a program of Swadeshi or national education inspired by Tagore's Santi Niketan. Bengal National College was founded with Aurobindo Ghosh as principal. This is something that you should know. And in 1906, the National Council of Education was established to promote literacy, scientific and technical education, and also in vernacular languages, including the Bengal Institute of Technology, with support for the students to study in Japan at that time. Now, extent of mass participation, if you want to see, students were very active into it and they participated in response. The government also adopted some harsh measure against them, denying them the jobs and the scholarships. The women, especially from the urban middle class homes, actively joined the procession. Some Muslims like Abdul Rasul, Liaquat Hussain, Ghaznavi, and Maulana Azad supported the movement. Most upper and middle class Muslims, led by Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka, backed the partition for a Muslim majority East Bengal. And the British also encouraged this. We have seen it only dividing the creation of All India Muslim League. This happened in the year 1906. It started in 1905, but it was established in the year 1906. Okay. And while the Hindu-centric imagery of the Swadeshi movement further alienated by any Muslims. This is what we have already seen. And the early labor unrest was also there. Major actions including the Bun Company's clerks walkout in 1905, the East India Railway strike in 1906, leading to a railwayman in union, frequent jute mill strikes, and also the movement led by Subramania Shiva and Chidambaram Pillai, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Ajit Singh. So these were few of the mass participation that we see. And there was the all India aspect given to it. It was not only confined in Bengal, but it was there happening all over the India. And in 1911, the partition of Bengal was annulled. To curb revolutionary terrorism, the capital was shifted to Delhi to appease Muslims, but this move failed to satisfy them. So please understand, time and again you are seeing that the Britishers are planning their decision in such a way that they can create a rift between the Hindus and Muslims, and if they can take over the what you can say, the friendship or the faith of the Muslims, they can take care of the other population. Meanwhile, Bihar and Odisha were carved out of Bengal and Assam was made a separate province at that time. Now, what was the differences between the moderates and the extremists? We have already discussed this in our last class also, so you can go through them. Basic difference, if you see, so the ideological inspiration was Indian history, cultural heritage, and Hindu traditional symbols. But here you see Western liberal thought and the European history was the ideological inspiration, and this was something that was the major difference between them. And they moderates believe that the movement should be limited to middle class, intelligentsia, and masses not yet ready for participation. But the extremists believe that the British crown was unworthy of claiming Indian loyalty and masses should be involved there. So these are few of the extremist leaders: Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, and Aurobindo Ghosh. And moderates like Dada Bhai Naroji, Surendranath Banerjee, Badruddin Taibji, and Firoz Shah Mehta. Now there was this Surat split that will happen. So when there is this partition going to happen in 1905, at that time the Indian National Congress session held in Banaras, and who was the president there? It was Gopal Krishna Gokhale. And what was decided there? Extremists wanted to expand the Swadeshi and boycott movement nationwide, including governmental institutions, while moderates opposed this and favored constitutional protest. Okay. Secondly, you see in 1906, it happened in Calcutta session 1906, Dada Bhai Naoroji was elected president and the Congress adopted Swaraj. For the very first time, Swaraj or self-rule was accepted by Congress at that time, and this was something which was for the liking of both the moderates and the extremists. Okay, because there was already some rising tension between the moderates and the extremists, but that tension took its full fold in 1907 Surat split that happened. So extremists wanted the Nagpur session with Tilak or Lala Lajpat Rai as president and to reaffirm Swadeshi boycott and the national education, while moderates chose Surat to prevent Tilak's presidency and drop these resolutions. So because Tilak was from Surat himself, that's why he could not be as the president, he could not even contest the elections. And because of this, we will find that there was this split between the extremists and the moderates at that time. And then we should also know about the Monte Minto reforms of the 1909. So what happened in the Monte Minto reforms of 1909, which is also known as Indian Council Act of 1909. So in October 1906, the Simla deputation led by Aga Khan demanded separate Muslim electorates for the Muslims. Okay, they soon took the control of Muslim leagues, promoting loyalty to the British and keeping Muslims away from the Congress at that time. And we will also see that in 1909 parliamentary reforms, Muslims were given the separate electors. So elective principles, Indians could participate in elections for legislative council through based on class and community with indirect elections. So this was given in 1909 Act. Separate Muslim electorates, Muslims were granted separate electorates for central and provincial councils with representation exceeding their population, and increased in elected members. The number of elected members in the imperial and provincial legislature council was increased, introducing a non-official majority or at the provincial level. The composition of Imperial Council of 1909, out of 69 members, 37 were official among 32 non-officials and 5 were nominated. Now, Indian representation in Executive Council, for the first time, one Indian, that was Satyendra Sinha, was appointed to the Viceroy's Executive Council in 1909. These are some of the important facts related to the parliamentary reforms of 1909 that you should know. But the most important thing was the separate electorate for the Muslims that started creating that rift more probable than what it was between the Hindus and Muslims at that time. Now, if you see the evaluation of the reform, no real self-government was given. So Swaraj was asked, that was not given. Divide and rule can be easily seen. Muslims are being given the separate electorates and all. Limited and direct participation. Indians were given some space, but it was like not giving only. Okay, they were not given proper. And the symbolic gains only, it showed that the Britishers are listening to you, but in actuality, they were not doing anything for the self-government. So with that, let's see if you have the questions and can we answer them or not. So consider the following statement regarding the extremist leaders in the Indian National Congress. They advocated passive resistance, boycott of British institutions and Swadeshi. Yes. They believed in achieving independence through self-sacrifices and mass struggle. Yes. And their activities included promoting education in vernacular language through national schools and colleges. So what should be the correct answer? All the three are correct. All the three are correct. You can also pause the video and see the explanation. And also, if you want the PDF of this classes for free, please join our Telegram channel of Official Sikra Academy. And also, if you have any question, you can call us straight away, and any of the educator will call you for free to answer your question. Now, which of the following were strategic used to involve women and students in the Swadeshi movement? Women participated in picketing shops and processions. Students led picketing of foreign goods and strikes in various regions. Women were encouraged to study at Bengal National College to strengthen the movement. So, which of this is true? 1 and 2 only. There is no historical record that women were specifically encouraged to study at Bengal National College. Number 3, the Simla Deputation 1906 and the formation of Muslim League. Demands for separate electorates for Muslims. Yes, we have already seen that. Over-representation of Muslims relative to their population. So we have seen that. And complete alignment of Muslims with the Indian National Congress. Okay. Now you see here, it is written here, over-representation. Please see that word, and complete alignment of Muslims with the Indian National Congress. Was there any alignment of the Muslims with the Indian National Congress? No. However, Muslims were largely kept away from Congress, so statement 3 is incorrect. Okay. Let's see the next question. Which of the following reforms were introduced by the parliamentary reforms? Introduction of elective principle for non-official members, separate electorates for Muslims in central and provincial council, full budgetary control to Indian legislature, appointment of one Indian to Viceroy Executive Council. Did you see number 3, full budgetary control, while we were discussing 1909 reforms? I did not see that. So what will be the correct answer? 1, 2 and 4. 3 was not correct. Let's see the last question, guys. Consider the following regarding the annulment of the Partition of Bengal 1911. It was done mainly to curb revolutionary terrorism. The capital was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi to appease Muslims, and Bihar, Odisha and Assam were recognized as the separate provinces. If we have seen it nicely, well, the correct answer is all of them are correct. Okay. So with this, we have come to the end, but it can be a beginning for you. If you're preparing for UPSC, TSPSC or APPSC, guys, for one-on-one live mentorship with Deepika ma'am and with all us educator, you can join our mentorship program. And believe me, if you really want to shorten your journey from an aspirant to administrative officer, this is really necessary for you. So call on the given numbers below. We are having some discounts also right now in the mentorship program, so use that, and we'll meet again if you subscribe. Till then, keep working hard. Today or tomorrow you will be successful. Thank you. Namaskar.